Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Building Loved Businesses, the show where we explore what makes companies truly loved by their employees, their customers, and their communities. I'm your host, Nathan Schock, and today I'm talking with someone whose work helps businesses show up with confidence, clarity, and connection. My guest is Wezz De La Rosa, a photographer and videographer who has spent the last several years photographing families and helping nonprofits and local businesses tell their stories through powerful, authentic visuals. His journey is something that I know you're going to enjoy learning from, and it's been driven by one thing: that's helping people and businesses feel seen. Wez, welcome to Building Love Businesses.
Hi, thank you, Nathan, for having me on today.
So before we jump into it, Wez, just give us a picture of the business today, where you're located, what you do, who you serve. Just give us a picture of your company today.
Yeah, so I'm located in the Quad Cities. I travel all throughout the Quad Cities, both sides of the river. I am an on location photographer. I, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just give us the basics.
Yeah, I offer both lifestyle, which is like head family photos, senior portraits, graduations. On the other side is business side, where I offer headshots, event photography, um, real estate
Yeah.
photography to help customers come in and know what they're walking in on.
Okay, great. Now, let's go back to the beginning. Your first exposure to photography happened long before you owned a camera. Tell us about those days where your mom worked in a print shop, back in the days before we had digital cameras, and how
Yeah,
you got to see those images come to life.
yeah. So after school, growing up, I would walk into my mom's work just to be like, "Hey, out of school," checking in with her, and she would always get excited and show me the cool images that local photographers captured that week. And she just always had a passion, and I just kind of related to her on that. I thought it was always so cool that a photographer can just click the button and just these amazing, gorgeous photos would be developed, and these families would love their photos, whether they're weddings, senior portraits. It was just always cool to see the different styles of photography that she was able to develop for these clients.
And what when you look back, do you think that experience led to where you are today?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's a nice thing to kind of um, meet her on and relate to her on.
Yeah. Um, okay, so then uh, obviously that was in your early life, and it wasn't until 2017 that you went all in on photography. But talk to me about that time in between. When did you think realize that photography, it isn't just something fun and interesting, it's actually something you could build a career around?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was a junior in high school, I went to California to my aunt's wedding, and my mom couldn't go. Only one of us could go, and she wanted me to have that experience. So she did buy me a little camera and like, hey, take a few photos. Now, were the photos good? No, absolutely not. But it started that to itch that scratch that I had, and it was the first introduction to having a camera and taking those photos and just capturing the beauty of the day.
I think any entrepreneur, when we start out, our work always sucks at the beginning, right? And you have to have the willingness and the love to push through, to think, okay, this isn't good, but I love it and I know that I can get better. Um, so you, again, it wasn't the straight career path then to photography. You've had a little bit of a unique career path. So tell me about some of those different steps, and then how you eventually made the leap into running your own business.
Yeah, so I started my adult careers in optical. So I made prescription glasses, I sold glasses, I worked in the nonprofit sphere, And during that time period, I did get a camera just for fun, photograph my nieces and nephews and just friends. And people were like, "Oh, you're good at this," and I'm like, "Thanks," but at the same time, I'm like, "You're just saying that because you're getting some discounted or free photos." But over time, more and more people were like, "Actually, you are good at this. You should expand." So I say 2017 is when I started my business because when I got my camera and started taking photos. But it wasn't until like 2023 where I went full time and took this serious and kept continuing to branch out into different styles of photography.
Okay, great. Right. Okay, so you started this back in 2017 in what today we would call a side hustle, but we didn't really have that language back then, right? So, again, I talk to lots of solopreneurs or people with side hustles who are trying to figure out, when do I go all in? When do I leave behind that what the seemingly the 9 to 5 career, the 8 to 5 career, and jump in and do my own thing? You'll see advice out there that's just follow your passion, jump in, you know, uh, jump off the cliff and build wings on the way down, and others who say, no, let's, make this a logical series of steps that you get to a place where you can financially support yourself. Just maybe walk through some of that thinking for you and how you made the decision to take the full leap.
I feel like when it comes to being a business owner, you kind of have to do a little bit of the, meet yourself in the middle. Like, yes, bills need to be paid. Yes, you have to be logical, but at the same time, there's never 100% moment. There was a time period during, I almost went all in, and then COVID happened. And then
Yeah.
I kept like a few years of like being nervous and scared, like, oh my God, something more is going to happen. Something crazy is going to happen. And then I just had to make the leap and be like, Wes, this is your passion. This is what you want to do. You want to help businesses. You want to help families capture these great moments for people. You can't just wait forever.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so now it sounds like you primarily serve three audiences, right? Families, nonprofits, businesses.
Yeah.
Um, so because our audience is primarily business owners and leaders, what's the benefit to a business of having really good photography? Why can't I just take my iPhone and do a headshot of everyone in the company and use that?
I mean, that gets you there, but you want to show that you are serious as a business. And when you have those iPhone photos, when I look at a company, I'm like, you're not investing in yourself. You're not showing that you have that longevity. If you are just taking those iPhone photos, to me, that looks like you just started 2 weeks ago. Versus you've been in this game for a long time and you care about your staff, you care about your clients. It reads that when you don't take it serious. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, and tell me, Wes, you mentioned when we talked before the show that photos and videos can help customers feel comfortable before they even walk through the door. Just talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, the younger generations, we look directly at a website. Make sure you have social media, website, um,
Yeah.
and if you aren't showing us who you are, whether that's staff, whether that's if it's a doctor's office, we want to know that what the layout looks like. Because if we have a visual in our mind and it doesn't match, sometimes we'll walk out.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it just that helps people feel comfortable and know what they're walking in on.
Yeah. Can you think of any examples of businesses you've worked with where your photography or videography really helped them build connection with their customers and prospects?
Yeah, so I one of my clients that they expanded from having just a medical facility to also aesthetics,
Mm.
um, and they wanted these photos so that they know there is a distinction from the two businesses. They're right next to each other, but they wanted to make sure that, hey, you know, the medical side, we're helping you with your health, and the other side is your beauty. um, and just showing that layout allowed most of their clientele are women, the women to walk in and feel comfortable knowing that
Mm.
they're in a safe space, because when you are getting these procedures, um, sometimes it's nerve-wracking for them, and they just want to make sure that they're in a safe hands.
Yeah, great. Good example. So, you know, take me back. One thing you mentioned earlier is you're building your business, you're about ready to jump in, and COVID hit, right? And I know early you said you're an on-site photographer, right? So you could see how COVID would create problems for that. How did you navigate through that time, and maybe what did you learn about yourself and your business in the midst of COVID?
um, the navigation portion, I kind of just froze. Honestly, I just kind of paused everything, because again, when you're on location, you can't go place, especially at the beginning when you had to be 6 feet apart. That
Yeah.
when and I mean, I always ask permission with clients, but like if you have hair that needs adjusted, I'm like, hey, can I help you? I want you to
Mm,
look good.
yeah.
You couldn't do that at that time period, and
Yeah.
everyone was petrified, so people were canceling left and right, understandably. Um, so it just paused that side of my business, and it took probably, I'd say, like 9 months for me to finally feel comfortable again getting back with the camera and start to build again. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that, maybe portraits of people in masks wouldn't be the most connecting thing. Um, then what did you through that process learn about yourself as an entrepreneur? How did you grow? How did you um, develop yourself coming out of COVID?
yeah, so I learned about myself. I need to plan more.
Mm,
I learned more about processes and how to um, navigate sessions that way, how to just the ins and outs, the background of the business. I realized I was just clicking with the camera and editing and sending. I needed to build more on the back end,
mm,
intake processes, figure out, okay, if somebody does want to cancel or um, needs to reschedule, like how do I want that in my business? I didn't have that. My brain at the time, I was like 21 starting my business. I that never crossed my mind, which is crazy to verbalize that now. But
well, I think what you're describing there, Wes, is the difference between being a photographer
yeah,
and having a photography business,
yeah,
right? It's like, and I see that all the time. People get into a business because they like doing the thing, whatever it is, right? But at some point, if you want that to be your full time sustaining job, you have to evolve into a business.
yeah.
So one of the things, again, as you talked about growing your business, that's been a challenge has been marketing, right? Because you have a service and it's a fairly competitive service, right? There's lots of photographers out there. um, how do you get your name out? How do you make connections? How do you get new work from places you don't necessarily know and expect?
Yeah, so I spend a lot of my time doing vendor shows. I was actually at one yesterday. I make it a point to shake hands, kiss babies, make sure to be there in the community with the nonprofit sphere. I'm always, when I'm either photographing, getting paid, or donating my services, I'm making sure to say hello to as many people as I can, build those connections, and just be visible, because right now we use the internet so much and it's left as like a crutch, which is a beautiful thing. You can quickly put an ad and it gets seen, but then you just get scrolled past because it's becoming
Mhm.
too overwhelming with all of the businesses with the ads, posts. it means more when you can actually speak to somebody, be in their face, having those conversations. And sometimes somebody would come up to me like, I love your work, but I could never be photographed. I'm like, well, why? What's wrong? And I can ease them through their anxieties. And then they're like, oh, okay, give me a business card. And then we book next week. Sometimes it's just those moments slowing down helps build that community.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, so how do you but that isn't I know we talked earlier, right, that you tried lots of different things when it comes to marketing. How have you found what works and what didn't? What's Just talk about your process a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, I've tried everything, even like door knockers, going neighborhood to neighborhood. I've tried everything. It's just when I'm doing the intake and even after the fact, finding out how they discovered my business. Was it through a referral from a friend? Was it through a Facebook ad
Yeah.
or an emailer or just simply being at a vendor show? And then I just kind of mark that when I'm, tallying all my information after the session on my Google Drive just to make sure, okay, how many people this year, and I'm actually going to be in the process soon of like, okay, what worked during 2025 for me to continue 2026? Just making sure to keep that data for yourself.
Mm. Yeah. Great. Okay. So now you're building. You've gone in, right. You're doing this full time, and you're building a business. And one of those growth moments that we also talked about is when you decided to bring on a virtual assistant. And that's a hard step for a lot of business owners, right? To know, okay, as this business is growing, I know I'm taking on more and more things and I'm doing more and more things. But man, letting someone else handle the baby that you built can be tough. So, when did you realize that it was time for you to hire an assistant?
I honestly waited a little bit too long. I feel like I felt like I was drowning.
Mm.
I was spread thin and I needed the ability to breathe a little bit, honestly. I wanted to be out in the community more, focusing on more of the one-on-one interactions, and I kept
Yeah.
having to stop and take phone calls, email, texts, and I couldn't make those one-on-one interactions, and that's when I realized, okay, I need to step back, trust somebody, and it's my baby, trust somebody with um, the intakes and the setting up the appointments, figuring out what the clients want um, when they do the inquiry. And that took a lot. But once you make that step, ugh, I feel like life is a little more balanced now.
Yeah, it's such a great example, right? We think, oh, I can't possibly hire someone, either because I don't trust someone else to do it as well as me, or boy, I don't know, I've finally built up a sustainable business. I don't know if I want to give away any of that money, but you free up more headspace for yourself to focus on the things that only you can do, right? Those highest value activities to the business, and that investment, if you do it well, actually ends up returning more to the business.
Yeah.
But you got to do it right. So you talked about once you brought on that virtual assistant, you needed to make sure you had documented your processes so that all those the intake and the client communication and the rescheduling and those things didn't just exist in your head, right? There was actually a process that someone else could follow. So walk through how you did that.
Yeah. So I just, as I was going through one of my last intakes that I did, kind of what I was saying, roughly what I was doing. And then I had to like cross over for like, if it was for a senior portrait session, how would I do this for um, a wedding or a headshot session for like a group of 20 people? Like each of those are different. I had to figure that out. And then I went to ChatGPT. I utilized ChatGPT to help me streamline that information. And was it perfect? No. my virtual assistant and I have had many hiccups, but that's just where you have to have that open communication and be like, okay, this is what I want you to do. And then we go back and rewrite the script.
Yeah. Tell me more about how you use ChatGPT. How was that helpful here?
Honestly, it helped me when I asked what am I missing? Honestly, like what questions should be asked? Because there's sometimes questions that I didn't think of during
Hmm.
the intake form that it helps me so that clients felt more seen, that
Yeah.
their needs are being met. And then also with what my chicken scratch of what I was wanting to convey to my virtual assistant, it was able to make it clear and precise for them. Because I did try to send at first, and she was like, "I don't know what the hell you're
Yeah.
trying to say," and I'm like, "Okay, let me have it rewritten. Okay, all right, I'm not
Yeah.
perfect. Let's fix it."
It's amazing how common that is, Wes. Again, I deal with anything from solopreneurs to billion-dollar companies. And at any company, people have processes that seem really clear right in their head, right? It's like, oh yeah, I know, like this is what I do. These are the steps. And then it's like, well, what about this step? Oh yeah, yeah, I should have included that. What about this step? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. What and that process of getting clarity, of writing something down on paper takes some work, but you don't have to do it alone. ChatGPT is there to help of really clarifying those steps, of taking what's in our head and making it clearer.
Yeah,
So, what else is, again, I think there's lots of people out there who are trying to decide, okay, I want to make this step, but I also don't know if I have the ability to lead someone, right? Because that's a big step when it goes from just yourself to now adding an employee. What did you have to do or change in yourself to make your virtual assistant and set them up for success?
yeah. Honestly, just work on separating my ego from myself. That hey,
Mhm.
I can't. Also, I can't do this all by myself, and I have to have an understanding that they're here to help me. I need to set them up for success. I've also taken, when I was starting the process of wanting to hire somebody, I took leadership programs. I
Mm.
was part of a program locally called Lideramos. It's a Hispanic leadership program, um, and just investing in myself in those avenues
Mm.
helped me then be able to lead my virtual assistant.
Yeah. That's great. I want to key in on something you said there, ego, right? There's a lot of times, again, go back to it makes sense in our head, and we think we know exactly the way to do it. But we have to be open to other people having a better way to accomplish the same things that we want. And that's so key when I teach delegation is to have business leaders really focus on not do this exactly the way that I say you should do it, but here's the outcome I'm looking for. Here's the way I've done it in the past, but you might come up with a better way, and then be open to that. That's a key part of setting someone else up for success.
Yeah. Well, and with my virtual assistant, she's seasoned in it. She's helped many businesses in the past.
Mhm.
I've allowed her to teach me as well.
Yeah.
Even though I'm the business owner, she has knowledge that I do not have. And I needed to also accept that and be like, okay, where can we meet in a middle to have the best success we can have?
Yeah. Great. Now, Wes, let's shift a little bit and look toward the future. What are your goals for your business? What do you want in the future? How will this business look different 1, 3, or 5 years down the road?
Yeah. So I'm currently never done expanding. I feel like I'm opening the side of my business where I offer um, photo booths for like
Mm-hmm.
weddings, corporate events. So expanding on that, and then just continuing to the structure side of things. It's never the world is continuing to grow, never done expanding business side. So I'm like, okay, I need to constantly be focusing on that, making sure everything is streamlined as well as I can so I can balance life. That's another avenue is I'm wanting last few years it's been a lot of grinding, trying to figure out how to balance that for friends, family, even just personal time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think every entrepreneur in the first couple of years of your business, if you're not grinding, it's not going to make it, right? But if you stay in that too long, you're going to fall out of love with your business.
Yeah. Yep. No, I agree.
So, think as it specifically relates to the business side of helping businesses. I know before you said, Wes, that you really want to help more businesses succeed in the future. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, just expanding on that, making sure that I understand what each business needs. Again, with the structure side, I was saying before, wanting to work on the interview side where, okay, what do you need? What is your goals as a personal business? Sometimes when you're grinding it out, you start to do like the same rubber stamp for everyone. That's not the case. A veterinarian has a different goal versus an accountant, and figuring out what those needs are.
Great. Okay, so now let's end here by looking back. If you had to go back to 2017, what's a piece of advice you would give to yourself that might have made this path a little easier, that other people who are thinking, do I want to go all in on this side hustle? Do I want to jump into this new career as a business owner, as a solopreneur? What's that one piece of advice you would give to yourself that would help them?
That it's worth it. Betting on yourself always is the answer, honestly. Um, just focus on what you want and your goals and just ignore the naysayers, honestly.
Yeah.
Very cliche, but honestly, that's what I would tell myself.
Yeah. And sometimes those naysayers are inside of us, right?
That very true.
Well, Wes, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for joining me and sharing your journey. For people who want to get in touch with you or follow you, what's the best way to do that?
Facebook. I do have an Instagram, but I'm not on it a whole lot. But yeah, Wez De La Rosa Photography. And then if you want to check out all that I offer, WezDelaRosaPhotography.co, co, not com, co, for my
Got
website.
it. Okay. Well, you heard it, listeners. Connect with Wes, especially if you're a business in the Quad Cities and looking for better photography. And thanks to all of you for tuning in to Building Loved Businesses. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, share it with another business builder in your life, and leave us a review so that we can reach more people looking for inspiration and information about building a business they love. Until next time, I'm Nathan Schock, and remember, the businesses we love most are the ones built on purpose, people, and heart.